Good evening, everyone. Sorry I was unable to make it. This is actually my fourth attempt trying to do a video. I've decided to switch to my Windows tablet instead of the iPhone because either it didn't record or it turned off after 20 minutes. So apparently I talk more than 20 minutes, which is not a surprise. What I'd like to do is I know that Mrs. Slayball has some items to hand out. I'm going to try to go through as I introduce the players for the girls first. Talk a little bit about them as they come up. They can get whatever their certificate or whatever it is, and then I'll keep going right up through. And then while everybody's up front, I will announce the girls' awards. First of all, I do want to thank Wayne Chabot for putting together the guys and girls schedule this past year. I want to thank him also for the opportunity to coach once again the guys and the girls team. It's a lot of work, I know, and fortunately for me, it worked out with my schedule at work. Although it was iffy at some times, was able to make it work without getting in trouble. I do appreciate that opportunity to watch both teams grow the past 2 years. I do want to thank Scott Doty for doing the books. I want to thank Jenny Slayball for helping out assistant coach for the team, and also doing the stat sheets, which I will be reading off of, and the other little things that needed to be done that weren't done, that just didn't get enough credit for. Jenny was behind that, and it was not me. So I can't take credit for that. So thank you, Jenny, for that. Thank you, parents. This is everybody that's in the room. Thank you, parents, for allowing your child to play, your son or daughter. Thank you for bringing them to practice. Thank you for bringing them to the games. Thank you for letting them use your vehicle if they have their driver's license to come to practice in the games. So I do appreciate that as well. For the girls coming up, it was another good year. I don't base it off of our record. Our biggest problem this year was not defense, was offense. As we put up 641 shots, and we only made 132, so we shot 21% from the field. Our bread and butter was defense. It was defense last year, and if we can somehow or another get the cover, the lid off that basket and start making some baskets, this is a dangerous group of girls on a basketball team here. So let's get started. Rebecca Searson, come on up. Rebecca Searson, this was her second year. She has that Searson mentality of feistiness on defense. She knows how to handle the ball. She can shoot the ball. When she's running through, she's getting more comfortable with running the plays, because I did change the plays up a little bit this year. And she can shoot the ball as well. Definitely because she's so young. She's got enough years ahead of her yet left to develop even further into an outstanding basketball player. Audrey Doty, another young up-and-coming player who has an unbelievable shooting form when she pays attention to it. When she's not, it's kind of ugly, but when her form is on, she's got the smoothest shot I've ever seen from a girls' team, and she could be a secret diamond in the rough here if she gets that confidence. She can get her dribbling down and get her foot speed up with some jump roping. With that shot, she's going to put some points up on the board. Christine Campbell. Christine continues to work hard and to grow and develop, and she's out there and she's doing post-up moves, because I have her practicing as a power forward or center position. So she's doing post-up moves, but she's dribbling, she's making her shots, she's going through the practice, she's working hard, and she continues to develop. So I appreciate having Christine on the team. Rebecca Horick, who is also plays inside. She came in and subbed in for Abby or Katie Campbell, just like Audrey did, and so she's got to learn practice post-up moves. She's running the plays. She's definitely a lot more comfortable this year than she was last year. So it's great to see her to continue to grow. And the thing that gets me is I didn't see it until we got to the tournaments and we have to list their height and what grade they're in. I can't believe how young this team is. And what I'm asking them to do in these practices and the games, and they're doing it at a 7th and 8th grade level. Granted, you go through elementary school in normal circumstances, and they're developed all the way up through, but we've had to develop this over the last couple of years. But they've come a long ways for 7th and 8th grade, which means they should be able to enjoy their later years of high school basketball because they've got these skills under their belt here. So I appreciate these young female players that are in here that are developing their skills but are doing it and at such a young age, and regardless of what's being requested. And it's not like I'm overworking them, but it's just you have 7th grade to 12th grade and they're all doing the same thing in practices, and some have different levels of skill obviously, and some can do it easier and some of them it takes them longer to do, but they're doing it, and that's the thing, is they're developing their skills when they do that. Our first newcomer was Jordan Anderson, and what a great addition. She was quiet, she's shy, she still is, but don't let that fool you, because I noticed that the tougher the competition, because we played knockout or bump, whichever way you want to call it, the harder the competition, the more serious she got, and when she got serious, she was hitting shots from the free throw line like she couldn't miss. So her being comfortable out on the court, you could tell that she was timid, she was shy, but as the season went on, she started to get more aggressive, and she's out there and she's going after the ball and she's dribbling and she's taking shots. So with 1 year under her belt and the progress that she made, I look forward to seeing how she develops next year. Hannah Searson. Hannah was our 6th person off the bench, and again, if we needed some scoring, she was a person I could bring in off the bench, and I knew we were going to get some points, because she just has a knack of being where the ball is going to be and finding an open spot to get that shot up. Our second newcomer was Kana Mangine. Kana is like 2 peas in the pod with Hannah. You find Kana, you find Hannah. If you find Hannah, you find Kana, because they're always together. Even if I split up the teams, they still manage to be together most of the time. But Kana's got athletic ability. She's very athletic, so if we can develop her skills primarily on the offensive end, she's got the defensive down so that she's not scared and nervous when she has the ball. She is definitely going to be a tremendous, continue actually to be a tremendous asset on this team, and actually further to be able to contribute even more. Mariah Slayball, you could tell she had 1 year under her belt with me. She went into this year, she likes to ask questions, which is great, but this year she honed in on developing her skills offensively. I mean, she used to put up a lot of 3-point shots. She still puts up 3-point shots, but this year she worked on pump fake, dribble drive, or drive to the basket, and she found out that a lot of times that either ends up being a wide open shot or you're getting fouled this year. So I appreciated Mariah enhancing her skills on that. Mariah Searson is my point guard. She's the person that gets us set up on offense. She's also my player that is all over the place on defense. It's not a bad thing, but when you're trying to play zone, she likes to cover all the zones. But she's just always out there trying to get the ball to do her best, and I appreciate her as a point guard, especially when there's presses to relieve everybody and getting the ball up. Katie Campbell. The girls will probably laugh, but I always said, a team's got to be like a well-functioning bicycle, and they kind of get the funny look, but that was the only scenario comparison I could come up with at the time. But Katie is that part that doesn't get the recognition as much as it should, but she is that moving part that without her the bike does not function, if that makes sense. So she'd be like the pedal or the chain or the wheel, or the spindles holding the wheel together. Katie's that person. She was one of our captains, she was the team leader out there, but she was the one that was directing traffic, so to speak. If she'd get the ball, she was passing it off to find somebody open. She was driving to the basket. She's doing those untold things that don't get recognition, and that's what I appreciate about Katie and her work ethic out there on the court. Karina Alt, who's not able to be here tonight because she had to work. Karina has a mix of both offense and defense, but I would say for her, it's not necessarily her offensive skills, although she did a lot more driving this year. I would say her big thing this year, or actually the last few years, even prior to me coaching her, is her ability in defense to read the eyes and jump the pass. That's where majority of our steals came from, is from jumping the pass. So defensively, I'd say that's where her biggest skill set is, although she does have the capability of scoring on the offensive end, as you'll see later on here when I read some stats. And last and not least, our only senior and our second captain on the team is Abby Weil. Abby was our inside presence offensively, and she she just strived to learn post-up moves. Even during games, she would ask, what am I doing wrong? What can I adjust? There's just times she's doing everything right. It's just the ball would not go in the basket for her. And I felt bad because she's just out there busting her hump, but she just couldn't get the ball to fall in. But I know that her work ethic that she has and her ability to strive and to perfect what it is that she's doing, I know that will carry her through outside of basketball and through college and anything beyond that as well. But it's been a privilege to coach Abby the last 2 years also, and in honing and developing her baseline skills. So while I have everybody up here, I just want to read our awards for this year. Our Defensive Player of the Year goes to Karina Alt. She had 68 total rebounds. She was the third leading rebounder. She had, I'm trying to put it in front of me here, 21 offensive, 47 defensive. She had 16 blocks to lead the team. She had 43 steals to be tied with first in the team. She had 15 assists to lead the team, and she was the second leading scorer with 80 points for the year. So congratulations, Karina. Our up-and-coming player is Audrey Doty. Again, Audrey is that diamond in the rough with her shooting. I just think that she's definitely come a long way from last year to this year, and I just think, again, if we can get that confidence up with her dribbling and her foot speed, with her shooting that she has, I think she's just going to be a tremendous asset, and that's why I see her as up and coming. She had 12 rebounds this past year. She had 2 steals, and she had 1 assist. And let's see, and she had no points this year, but it isn't because she didn't put up any shots. Again, it's just that's a confidence thing. I think the biggest thing with this team is confidence. When they believe, and when they're down, they're down. And it's just a matter of they need to all build each other up, and they have to believe in each other. And just because one quarter's bad doesn't mean the other 3 have to be bad. Congratulations, Audrey, and being my up and coming. Most improved is Mariah Slayball. And just that, she's improved so much from last year to this year. Last year, when you asked her to do stuff, she was scared. I mean, she did not want to have that confrontation in the paint as far as driving in the lane into traffic. And this year she drove, and it benefited her. It benefited us as a team. Mariah Slayball had 34 rebounds. She had 12 offensive, 22 defensive. She only had 45 turnovers, and I say 45 turnovers. I know turnovers was a big thing last year. She wasn't even, there was 3 other people ahead of you, Mariah, for turnovers this year. So congratulations in getting your turnovers down. I think that averaged out to only 2.8 a game. And I don't remember what last year's was, but I know it was higher than that. So congratulations on that. 3 blocks, 14 steals, 8 assists, and 44 points this year. So Mariah Slayball, most improved this year, specifically for driving to the paint, driving to the basket, and getting your turnovers turned down. Congratulations. Our co-MVPs this year, the first one is Mariah Searson. Mariah had 77 rebounds. She was the second leading rebounder. She had 35 offensive, 42 defensive. She had 13 blocks to be second on the team. She was tied with 43 steals, and she was second on the team with 11 assists, and she led the team with 104 points. And then our second co-MVP is Abby Weil. She had 116 rebounds to lead the team, 57 offensive, 59 defensive. She had 3 blocks, 26 steals, 7 assists, and she was third on the team with 75 points this year. So congratulations, Abby and Mariah, for co-MVPs this year. While they're taking a seat, or there's some photos getting going, I'll get switched over here. I'll kind of stall for a couple seconds, or if you have to pause this, go ahead. I'll call up the guys team, and again, if you'll come up front, and I believe Miss Slayball again has something for you guys. I'll go through each player, and then while everybody's up front, I will go ahead and announce the awards for this year's guys team. The guys team, we've been fortunate the last 4 years now, with being dominant in the league. This year we had a curveball thrown at us for some reason. River Valley had our number for the guys. We lost to them by 1 in overtime on our court. I know we were short a player or two. And then we went to their court and we had our players and we still lost in overtime by a point. That was a get over the hump game to break some attitude on the team. The year before that, we had to have it at the Central Baptist tournament. This year, we had to have it at the River Valley. But all in all, this was a great group of guys. It really was. They were enjoyable to coach. The Central Baptist tournament where we were the 4th seed and we ended up winning it. Those were 2 hard-fought games that we played to win those tournament, and that was well deserved by that team, our team there for that. The Pennsylvania tournament, was another great experience. 3 games in 2 days. It was closer to home instead of going to Ohio. Let's get started with this. So Matthew George, the first one. He was a newcomer. I know his brother started with the team, but was unable to continue last year. So hopefully next year he'll be able to play. But Matthew George, young, full of energy, and I mean young. But he got in there and he did all the drills. He did all the running as some of these older kids did. And we had a lot of older kids on the team this year. And he learned the plays. And it was just neat to see him at the end of the year getting in the games and scoring baskets and hitting free throws. And then everybody on the sideline cheering for him, including the bench. So I look forward to Matt coming back next year and developing skills even further on the team. Danny Chabot, again, young. But we had him last year compared to this year, and he's come a long ways. He's getting there. We still got to develop some of his skills with his dribbling, but to see him going after a basket or after the ball in one of the games defensively and got feisty in it and making a free throw, and so it's just a pleasure to see Danny out there in the court and him develop his game between last year and this year. Blake Alt, again, another young one on the team. He was able to play quite a bit this year because we weren't as deep of a team as we were the year before. So pretty much every game, just about everybody got to play, unless they were really, really close games. Everybody got to play, so it was a good mixed match there. Blake, I look forward to him. We know he's got the range to shoot. I look forward to him developing his dribbling skills so that he can carry on a guard role. So we look forward to that. Peter Slayball. Peter had a growth spurt last year going into the season. Was a little uncoordinated. He hadn't caught up to that yet, so we're hoping to get him on the jump rope. Maybe get with his older brother Nate to help him with some post-up moves. If not, we'll be practicing some post-up moves this next year as we look for him to replace the senior or the center position as we had 4 seniors this year, as you'll see. John Weil. John Weil reminds me of a Searson, and I say that is because he's more defensive-minded, aggressive. John Weil, though, however, if you tell him to go 50 miles an hour, he goes 110 miles an hour, and it's not necessarily bad. We just got to look how to hone in on that speed at the right time when it's needed. But John Weil is a tremendous asset to the team. And hopefully we look forward to seeing him fill in the starting position that will be open for next year. Sam Yosei, this was Sam's second year, and I'm glad he came back because the improvement from last year to this year, and to see him out there and know the plays and running through the plays and trying to get better and honing in on his shooting skills. I look forward to Peter developing his dribbling skills actually to hopefully take the point guard position. So I appreciate Sam on the team as well. Aaron Slayball is going to be a senior this coming year, and if I have this correct, he's only 46 points away going into his senior year from the 1,000-point club. So, Aaron is just a tremendous asset in the team. He's been on the team for a while. It seems like forever, even back when Christian and Brennan were there, but yet he's still got another year left, so that'll be nice to be there for his senior year, providing this COVID doesn't put a damper on that, to go in his senior year and to see how he finishes up his career at New Life. Cav Young, he is not an offensive player, as much as he would like to be. He is a scrappy defensive player, but he likes to attack the basket when the ball goes up. And I'll read some stats here shortly, but he just manages to jump into the middle of the paint and under the basket with people twice his height and still come down with the ball. That's Cav. He is feisty on defense, so that's why we put him up top on man-to-man. He will wear you out. He will be right there. And if there's a loose ball, he's scrapping for it. And that's what I like about Cav. Andrew Searson, Again, he's another feisty, scrappy player. He's defensive, but he has an offensive game. And when he brings that offensive game, it makes us even that much more dangerous of a team. However, him and Cav are both seniors, so they will not be back next year, so we will not get to see any more of that. So I look forward to our younger ones to step in those places. A newcomer this year, another one, David Carr. He tried out a couple years ago on the team but didn't continue on. I wish he had, but I am thankful for the year that we had for him. He filled a big void for us. We were missing a center position. We got a center position in David Carr, and he understood how to play man-to-man, which means we switched from playing zone primarily to man-to-man, which was nice because I think we razzled a lot of teams with that man-to-man this year. And he developed a lot. We were able to separate him out. Thank you to Brian Young for assistant coaching. He was able to take the guards while I took the big guys, and we were able to practice some post-up moves, and he was able to utilize that and improve his game as the year went on. But he provided valuable minutes and valuable time in the center paint for us. Our last senior, as David's a senior also, is Chris Alt, and we know that he had the 1,000-point club. And probably for me, the biggest thing was him scoring the game-winning basket against Cortland Christian Academy for 5th place at that Pennsylvania tournament, which was our first time in front of a pretty good crowd at Canaan Christian. So for me, I enjoyed that. He may have enjoyed the 1,000-point club more. Maybe he enjoyed that game-winning basket also. I'm not sure. But Chris was a offensive and defensive-minded person who was just seemed to be all over the place and colliding. And sometimes there was games where I didn't think he was going to get back up, be able to play again, and yet he did. But he was a tremendous asset, and again, he's been playing forever too, because when he first started there was back when you had Jacob Searson and Josh Nelson and all them that were there, and he was coming off the bench very limited minutes, kind of like what Matthew and Blake and Danny were doing now. So Blake, Danny, and Matthew, you can see what happens is Chris has worked his way up, and I'm not going to get into it, but if you look at his points over the season, his 8th and 9th grade year wasn't much, but his 10th, 11th, and 12th took right off, especially his 12th grade year. So with that being said, with everybody up front, our co-defensive players of the year is Cav Young. And just to give you guys an idea, Cav had 126 rebounds for the year, and he had 68 offensive rebounds. That led the team. 68 offensive rebounds led our team, and 58 defensive. He had 4 blocks, 31 steals, 14 assists, and he had 80 points this year. Our second co-defensive player of the year is Andrew Searson. 103 rebounds, 43 offensive, 60 defensive, 2 blocks, 33 steals, 37 assists, and 130 points. Those two together, you have 229 rebounds, of which 111 of them were offensive between the two of them. They had 64 steals combined. They had 51 assists combined and 210 points combined. So congratulations to Cav and Drew and being co-defensive players of the year. Our up-and-coming player is Peter Slayball. Peter hit a growth spurt. Peter's going to be looked upon to fill our center position. Towards the end of the year, he started to come out of his shell a little bit, so to speak, and started to practice some of the post-up moves that he was practicing on, and he was successful at doing it. This past year, he had 21 rebounds, 9 offensive, 12 defensive. He had 6 steals, and he had 9 points. So congratulations, Peter, and the up-and-coming award. Will to win. I hate because you have to find, you got 10 or 11 guys on a team and you only get so many awards. But will to win, this individual, we used to joke around. He was on the ground more than he was on his feet. He liked to drive to the paint, and this year was just a different story. When he is in the zone, I'm telling you, you cannot stop him unless you want to try to triple team him. His outside shot, when it's falling, and he just finds a way to drive to the paint and score. He's got some height in his dribbling ability, but now that he's staying on his feet makes him even that much more dangerous. Now, if we could get him to do a stop and pop instead of trying to go all the way in all the time, that'll make him even more scarier, especially going into a senior season. Will to win, Aaron Slayball. Okay. Most improved player. Based on this season alone, and quite honestly, I mean, everybody improved, but nobody's improved as much as David Carr. He came into this season raw talent, and I remember when he came out 2 years ago for that one practice, and I remember saying to Coach Paul, he is a raw talent, and if we had him for the last 3 years, you would have been able to see that for sure. I know he would have developed, but he did. I'm happy for the year that we had him, and he did improve, and he was our second leading rebounder this year. He had 134 rebounds, 60 offensive, 74 defensive. He had 4 blocks, 13 steals, 14 assists. He had 87 points, and I'll tell you what, he was put into a situation where he had to cover a pretty big guy from Holy Cross for 3 games, right? 2 games, 3 games, and that was no easy accomplishment because I gave him a warning heads up, and he knew he was going to be rough, and David held his own. He did well at our tournaments, the Central Baptist tournament. He was just there getting rebounds, distributing it out. It wasn't necessarily his offensive game as much as doing those little things of getting the rebounds, getting in the position, preventing from the shot going in. And that's really what doesn't show. If you could show how many people he guarded against that didn't make a basket, especially the inside the paint, that's really where his numbers would have shined. But most improved on the year by far, David Carr. Congratulations, David. And our most valuable player for this year is Christopher Alt. And let me just read to you. He was our leading rebounder. He had 208 rebounds, 57 offensive, and you ready? 151 defensive rebounds. He had 19 blocks, second on the team. He led the team in steals with 59, and he was second on the team with 45 assists, and he had 432 points. Again, he was a rebounding offensive. He just was, and 45 assists. He was second on the team. I know Aaron had 78, but 45 points or 45 assists converted into points, sometimes it would be easy to be selfish all the time and drop your numbers down, but I know that there was games he was actually trying to get like a double-double or a triple-double or get at least 10 assists a game too. And I would challenge the guys, give me 10 assists, give me 8 rebounds. And a lot of guys on the court there, I would challenge them, give me this. Let me see you put those numbers up. But Christopher will be missed. David will be missed. Andrew will be missed, and Cav Young will be missed. That leaves Aaron, Sam, Jonathan, Peter, Blake, Danny, Matthew, and whoever else new comes next year to fill that void. I look to potentially our starting lineup next year to being Aaron, Sam, John, Peter, and Blake, with Danny and Matthew coming off the bench as contributors. That's a young team with a league that's been gunning for us for the last 3 or 4 years, but I'm still confident that we will be competitive enough in our league with a chance again to win the division and or the championship game. So I've taken a few minutes of your time. I know it would have been longer if I was there. I know it definitely would have been longer if I sent that email I told Wayne I was going to send. I probably would have had a chance to get out of work before you were done reading it. I'm just about 29 minutes in. Again, thank you to everybody that had part in the basketball season for the girls and the guys side. I can't get into all the names because I'm going to forget somebody. But if you're in that room tonight, you had a part of it. I appreciate it. I appreciate the support that you gave me as a coach. Even though it is tough doing 2 teams, that's why I'll be just sticking with the guys team next year. And like I said, I'm confident that we can have a girls team next year, and I'm still available to assist. But I know work-wise, I can't balance that also next year between the 2 teams. So thank you again for your time. Thank you, players, for your time, for the ability to coach you. Those of you that are seniors, I wish you well. And don't be afraid to come back and visit during the practices. And everybody have a great night. Thank you.